Yeah,
Sure.
Simona, yeah.
Cool. You don't mind if we record, Floris?
No.
Cool.
Well, depends what you're going to do with the recording.
We have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
So we just put most of the stuff on there.
Okay. A private channel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I think we've got quite a lot of people online.
Yeah, please let me know if there's someone online that knows me or that we've met before. Please let me know. I'm trying to see if I recognize any of the names.
Sure. See, should we give everyone about 5 minutes before we start? Cool. Hope no one struggles with that link, because I know when you got an iPhone, it takes you to a redirect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to click on it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, mine also behaved a bit strange, but
Yeah.
luckily I'm in.
Hi, Kesha.
Hi,
Bertha.
Bertha. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Hi, Floris.
Hello, Bertha. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Just going to be quiet in the background. You need help with the recording, Kesha?
No, it's fine. I've
good?
already started recording.
Okay, perfect.
Kesh, just give me 2 minutes. I just want to grab a glass of water. Just give me a minute.
No problem. That's fine.
Okay.
Cool, you're back.
Yeah, so ready when you are.
All right, cool. Let's go for it. I'm just going to mute everyone before we get started. Okay, cool. And then Tawela and Bertha, if you can just help me, if anyone comes into the lobby, if you could just let them in if I don't see them. Cool. So welcome everyone. Thank you. I think we've got a great evening planned for you. Just a few things we want to get out the way quickly. A little bit of marketing from our side. So we've got a LinkedIn page. If you can, please all go on, follow, like. We've also got a YouTube channel and a WhatsApp group. So our WhatsApp group is for alumni only. How you classify it as an alumni is if you're either an MBA or a PDBA graduate. So you can send a request to our email address. It's abc@mygibs.co.za. And we will have a look, see if you're an MBA or PDBA and add you to our group. We've also got Alumni Connect, which we have a group on there as well. So please join that group. I've put all the links to those in the chat. So you're welcome to go just click on there, like our YouTube channel, like our LinkedIn page, and if you like, send an email to us to join our WhatsApp group. So a little bit of housekeeping. Please put your microphones on mute. If you want to put your camera on, we're fine with that as well. We'll leave questions right up until the end, but the chat's open, so you can pose questions and then we'll address them right at the end of the session. Cool. Then just want to introduce you to Fast Forward Innovation. So Fast Forward Innovation focuses on turning corporates into hyperscale startups and employees into into owners of the company. I've shared their website as well on the chat, and an introduction to Floris. So Floris is a corporate innovation athlete, digital thought leader, co-founder of Hive Club, lean innovation lecturer. He's built resilience and mastery of corporate innovation over a 20-year career period, launching multiple business units. Cool. So that's me. Just by the way, I'm Keshal Suka. I am the vice president for the new business ideas. So I look after all businesses from your business idea phase up until your MVP. So that's what I'll be focusing on. You're welcome to contact me as well. I'll put my email on the chat. So now for the main event, how to start a business with 1,000 Rand, and I'll hand you over to Floris.
Cool, thanks, Keshal. Yeah, so what Keshal didn't mention is we've known each other, I don't know, Keshal, maybe 10 years at least.
Yeah, at least 10 years.
At least 10 years, yeah. So we worked together at Telkom back in the day. And yeah, we've also tried to do a few business deals together. I don't know if we really succeeded, but we're still gonna keep on trying. So before I start, I would just want to check. So Bertha, yeah, it's nice to see you. Is there anyone else online that we've met before? Is there anyone that just want to say how's it? I don't know if there's anyone that knows me except for Bertha and Keshal. Doesn't seem like it. All right, cool. Right, so yeah, so when Keshal asked me to chat to you guys, I thought let me give you a little bit of my thoughts around how you can start a business with basically no money at all. And since I left corporate 3 years ago, I've started 3 businesses, all without spending more than 1,000 Rand. So I'll also tell you about those businesses and what we do and, you know, how successful that's been. Bertha, you can get a copy of the slides, no problem. But yeah, so the main thing here is that, well, let me do an intro first. So Fast Forward Innovation. So Fast Forward Innovation is one of the companies that I co-founded. I'm a partner with Rapalang Rabana. And the reason why we started this company is to help large corporates innovate like startups. So we work with innovation teams within corporates and we teach them, you know, methodologies, lean innovation methodologies. And we think it can have a significant impact on the economy and also, you know, just, yeah, the lives of South Africans, because we believe corporates waste a hell of a lot of time and money. You know, when Keshal and I was at Telkom, we used to launch many new products and most of those products fail you know, it's been proven that about 80% of all new products fail. And we believe it can be turned around where only 20% fail and 80% succeed. So that's our belief, and we think, you know, we can save billions of rands by just working smarter. So anyway, that's what we do for a living in Fast Forward. I also teach part-time at Wits Business School, so I teach lean innovation as well as, and I know you guys at GIBS don't like Wits Business School so much, but anyway, so be it. They pay me, you don't, so, you know. And then I also do a little bit of lecturing at Cornell University in the States. Yeah, so my background is really in corporate innovation. Was responsible for launching Telkom Business Mobile. I was the product exec at Mobile for 4 years. Then I launched Telkom Digital, the digital unit for Telkom, and SpliceWorks, a startup incubator accelerator. Then moved to BCX, where I met Rapelang. She was the chief digital officer. And in the space of 12 months, we basically launched, I think, 5 businesses within BCX. So the data science business, IoT business, cybersecurity, RPA. Yeah, so, you know, a couple of new ventures that we launched there. And yeah, we just really worked well together. So then when we decided to leave corporate, we teamed up in Fast Forward. So Rapelang's background is very much, you know, entrepreneurship. She's also launched a couple of successful startups and currently also involved in, I think, at least 3 businesses. So yeah, that's basically us. I'm going to skip this slide. We've worked with many big corporates and more than 1,000 startups. So we really do like also working with startups and startup accelerators. But let's get into it. So the one book that you have to read, you know, so if there's one book that you're going to read after tonight, is this one, The Right It from Alberto Savoia. So maybe an indication, just put up your hand if you've read this book. Anyone that's read The Right It? Okay, so I mean, Alberto, he speaks about prototyping for testing ideas. And he's got his own methodology, right? So where you come up with a market hypothesis or a market engagement hypothesis, and then a way of prototyping where you test your ideas in the market and collect data. And, you know, it comes down more or less to the same thing as Lean Startup and all the other methodologies, but it's just a, you know, really practical book on how to start a business basically without any money, without any funding. And he also came up with this law of market failure, which says most new ideas will fail in the market, even if competently executed. You know, so the problem is not the execution in many cases. It is that it is not the right it. It's not the right idea, right? So people get stuck on the wrong idea, and they execute it perfectly, and it still fails, just because, you know, it wasn't the right idea. And Nielsen actually did research, and they found that from 24,543 new products that was launched in the United States in the course of, and I think this was 2019, 27% failed outright in the first year. 16% was a disappointment. 37% was cancelled for some or other reason. 14% was deemed a success, you know, positive ROI, and 6% was a star product. So, you know, they've proven that most new startups / products / ideas fail once it gets to the market. Right, so the wrong way of doing it, and why I believe, you know, 80% of startups and businesses fail, is that, you know, somebody comes up with a brain spark, then we convince ourselves that it's a good idea, you know, we do some research to prove it's unique, you know, nobody else is doing it, and we sell the idea to family, friends, and business contacts, you know, people that like us and that is going to lie to us because they like us, you know. Then we thumbsuck a business case. So we carefully document our assumptions and we massage those assumptions until it looks nice and rosy. Then we do some analysis, paralysis, and market analysis, and focus groups and research, and we speak to a whole bunch of people, and we do a competitive analysis, you know, and we spend a lot of time and effort on that. And then hopefully we get some funding, right? And most of the time, the angel funding is from what they call fools and family, or fools, family and friends. Then we take that money and we build a product. So we go away and we ask Bertha or somebody to build us an app. You know, that we spend quite a bit of money on that. And then when we're ready, we think the app is ready, then we build a marketing campaign and we spend some more money on the marketing campaign. And then we launch, right? We've got a launch party and it's very exciting. And then we learn if it's a good idea. So, you know, this way we waste months and years and lots of money. Yeah, you can't wait until the thing is launched, until the product's in the market before you learn whether it's a good idea or not. You need to find a way of right up front learning whether it's a good idea without spending any money. And that's really what we focus on. Okay, so our process is there's still ideas, right? Or ideation or brain sparks. And then you want to experiment with prototypes. And you collect YODA. YODA is also from this book, The Right It, and YODA stands for your own data. So what Alberto says is you can't trust anyone else's data. So actually research is useless, right? To try and extrapolate from other people's data, I mean, it can help you form your idea and, you know, guide you and so forth. But you can't make business decisions based on other people's data. You have to collect your own data. And this data that you collect, you then plug into your business case. And all the assumptions in the business case, right? So the target market and the acquisition rate and, you know, the conversion rate and how much people are willing to pay for the product and your churn or retention and your number of referrals. And, you know, all of those assumptions you want to test by building prototypes and iterating on prototypes. And just to give you one example, I'm going to give you lots of examples. Dropbox iterated on their website for 18 months on the value proposition before they wrote the first line of code. So for 18 months, they were just massaging the messaging and, you know, the value proposition on the website until the metrics showed them that this is going to be a success. And then only did they develop the Dropbox system. So anyway, so I'll show you what the prototyping looks like. Then if the business case is positive based on your own data that you've collected, then you build an MVP. And at that point, you might want to get some funding. But now, you know, getting funding with YODA is very simple. And I'll talk more about that as well. If you go to any funder and you show them the data that you have collected, you know, using prototypes and the market response in the real world, then, you know, the funding decision is super simple. You don't have to convince anyone. You just show them, you know, here's my business case. Here, based on the data that I collected, do you want to buy in or not? You know, it's a very simple discussion. But anyway, so then if you build your MVP, you need to resist the temptation to go big. And this is another lesson that most people don't want to hear, is everybody wants to go big, right? I'm going to attract 1,000 users in year one, or I'm going to do 10 million Rand, you know, in year one. But actually, you should try and limit the number of people in the beginning, because it's much easier to iterate on a product with a few users than to iterate on the product with 1,000 users. So you want to refine the concept, and now you're looking for a scalable, repeatable business model. And only through the MVP testing, you know, you can confirm whether this business model is scalable. And then if it is, then you scale, and then you can use things like growth hacking. And I'll talk about growth hacking quickly as well. Okay, so let me show you. Yes, Keshal.
Were you sharing slides or did you go off?
Oh, am I not sharing anymore?
I think it stopped.
Did it stop? Where did I lose you?
After that first one.
Really? Oh, that's weird. Okay, let's go
cool.
back.
There we go.
Oh, sorry, man. So,
No problem.
so did I lose you? Yeah.
Next one. Yeah, after this one.
Oh, that's very strange.
Cool, no
Okay.
problem.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So I spoke through this. Hopefully you could follow. Yeah. So basically what I was saying is you want to experiment with the prototypes to collect YODA, which you base your business case on. And then if the business case is positive, then you move on to the MVP. And now you're testing for a scalable business model. Okay. So let me show you what this looks like. But just as a general principle, the principle here is that you want to follow a scientific method, right? Too many businesses, it's sort of this like guts and glory thing, right? You just have to go at it, and go as hard as you can. It's almost like a boxer getting into the ring, Just you need to keep on fighting. And that's actually not true. There's no guts and glory story, you don't have to have blood, sweat, and tears, or perseverance. You just need to follow the scientific method, and we all know the scientific method, right? Since school, they've taught us that you come up with you identify a problem, then you come up with hypotheses. Then you design an experiment to test your hypotheses. You run your experiment to collect data. If the data supports the hypotheses, you've proven it wrong. You've proven it right, you validated it. And if the data does not support those hypotheses, then you want to modify your hypotheses and test again. So I guess this is overall sort of the mindset that you need to be in, right? Is where what is the problem you're trying to solve? What are you trying to test for? Let's say the target market. Okay, so the problem is the target market. My hypothesis is that the target market is sort of mid-income 20 to 30-year-olds, right? That's my hypothesis. What experiment can I run to validate or invalidate this hypothesis? Then you design an experiment, maybe mock up a website or something, and you target 20 to 30-year-old mid-income households, and you see whether it resonates with them. So that's the general idea, is to run experiments to validate your assumptions instead of thumb sucking it. I saw there was a question in the chat. Let me just quickly check. Bertha said the question, does YODA collecting data? How does one do this? I'm going to show you now. I'm going to show you how to measure it and all of this. Okay, I'll show you now. Okay, so let's start with ideation. Most people actually don't struggle with ideation. Most people have got lots of ideas. It's in many cases more difficult to decide which ideas to pursue rather than I don't have any ideas. But let's say you don't have any ideas. Let's start there with ideation, and then I'll move on to the YODA story, Bertha. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the market's perception of value, right? So many innovators look at a business idea with a perception of MVP, right? What is in it for me? What I've just spoke to you about, sort of that the business case for me, right? Is this business profitable or not? The market don't care about that, right? So the market, they don't give a hoots whether you're successful or not, or whether you make any money. They want value. So in many cases, it's very valuable to look at it from the market's perspective and try and define what is the minimum viable value instead of the minimum viable product. So the minimum viable value will ultimately inform what the MVP should be. But if you can define the minimum viable value in terms of from a customer's perspective, what would make this product or this idea go from not interested to a nice to have to a must have? And can you try and define those thresholds, right? So let's say, I come up with a new product idea and it's going to save someone money, right? How much money does it have to save me for it to become a must-have, right? What is the hurdle and how much effort is it to adopt? And when would this cost saving be worth it? So if you can try and define those thresholds, then it would be much easier to design your product or your MVP. So why I'm showing you this is if you're ideating and you're looking for ideas, one of the best ways to do this is to look for limitations, right? So the theory of constraints, first principles, says that if there's a limitation or a constraint, in a system or anything, then we have to design around it, right? And we design around it by coming up with coping mechanisms. And in the business world, we call it best practice, right? So we design certain rules and practices to cope with a limitation or a restraint. We believe that a must-have product or a must-have value can only be created if we're removing a limitation, right? And if that limitation results in a big enough improvement so that it becomes a must-have, right? And then also the value can only be realized if the market adopts the new rules. So if you're going to remove a limitation or a problem that people are facing, a challenge, suddenly that limitation doesn't exist anymore. So the old rules, the coping mechanisms, or the current best practice is not valid any longer. You still have another job to do to convince them to adopt the new solution, right? That the current best practice is outdated and there's a paradigm shift. So for many people, this paradigm shift is not easy because they're stuck in their ways, right? Let's say in a corporate environment, people are used to working on an Excel spreadsheet for some function. Now you come with a product that replaces the Excel processes. People are stubborn, right? They resist change. So if the people are still going to use the Excel spreadsheet and not your solution, you haven't unlocked the value. So when you're ideating, you need to think about what problem or limitation am I removing, and how easy would it be for people to adopt. Now, let me give you a few examples. This example is from Henry Ford, and he realized that the value of the car is not looking cool or going fast or showing off to your friends or whatever. The value is the radius in which you can do business. So the killer app for the car, the motor vehicle, was for small businesses to increase the radius in which they can do business. With a horse and cart, you could only do business in a radius of about 3 miles. And with a car, you could increase that radius by 10x to 30 miles. And, for people to understand this, really puts the car as a must-have, because now suddenly you can see the business case for me as the customer instead of the business case for Henry Ford, right? So the business case for the customer is, okay, what does this mean for me, right? For my business, if I can increase my radius of doing business to 30 miles. So just as an example, Henry Ford never advertised the specs or the benefits, right? So features and benefits is actually irrelevant. What you want to zoom into is the value, right? The real value that you're delivering. So this ad from, I think, 1920 something says, new days demand new methods. The store of yesterday can't compete with the store of today. An expense reducing and efficiency increasing Ford delivery car is the best evidence you can furnish your trade that yours is not a store of yesterday. So he was trying to get that message across to people that, this is really a work tool, and that's why he was successful. So yeah, just an example there. But you need to get people away from the scoping mindset into a growth mindset and to really unlock the value. So maybe a few other examples is, those kiosks at the airport. We've had those kiosks, those check-in kiosks for forever, right? Maybe for a decade, but people still queued at the check-in counter. People didn't change their behavior, and they just didn't do a good job of adoption, getting people to adopt the new rule. And now, with SAF Air WhatsApping you your boarding pass and whatever, the kiosks are outdated, and there are now new innovations again, replacing the kiosks. But now it's very easy, So with the WhatsApp functionality on SAF Air, checking in is as easy as clicking a link and doing everything online. So anyway, it's not enough to remove the limitation. You also have to get people to adopt the new paradigm. So if you can make that elevator on the right, that door 3 times bigger, but if people still queue, then you haven't unlocked the value. Yeah, so this human nature refers to best practice, right? So there's a limitation, and human nature is we're going to design rules to cope with the limitation, and those rules are called current best practice. So if you want to ideate and you want to look for ideas, look at current best practice for anything, right? And you will find inefficiencies in the way that people are currently doing things. Current best practice is not always best. And that's a great place to look for new business ideas. And yeah, you might say that, what about those innovations that nobody's thought about, or that's creating completely new market or completely new, category like the iPhone, and, we get this objection frequently. That's true, but those innovations are one in a million. 1 in a million people have got that capability of, like Elon Musk, right? There aren't many people like Elon Musk that decides, okay, I'm going to build spaceships to go to Mars, and he's got enough money to do it, right? So for the mere mortals, the rest of us, it's much, much easier to look for current problems, current limitations, and finding solutions to that than to try and, come up with this earth-shattering new innovation that nobody else has thought about. Okay, cool. I'm hoping this makes sense. And then just the last slide here is in your experimentation, you want to look for that threshold, right? So where's that value threshold to move people from this coping mindset into this growing mindset, right? Where does it become a must-have? Where does it really, get them to that epiphany? Okay, let me just see. I saw there's another question. Bertha, another question. When people still insist on using a spreadsheet, when you show them a better system, what more can you do to convince them that your solution is what they should adopt? They're resisting to change in ways. Yeah, it comes down to change management. So it's a whole science in its own. But all I'm saying here is you need to also design for that, right? So you need to make adoption as simple as possible, and you need to build it into the product. So when you're building a product, it needs to be designed in such a way that people can adopt it easily. It shouldn't be a hurdle for them. So many new innovations, really, really frustrating, like dial-up internet. It was just a pain in the butt. So all I'm saying is think about the adoption even when you're designing the product. It shouldn't be an afterthought. And then this whole change management effort, trying to, you're almost in many cases in a corporate, if you introduce a corporate solution, you have to force it. So you need to get a sponsor that just forces it, right? So that just says, people, we're going to switch off the old system, end of the month, you have to use this. But if in a B2C scenario, in a consumer scenario, you need to think very carefully about the user journey and the usability and the UX design. And you can use things like gamification, and there are many different strategies to drive adoption. But I'm just saying, it's not good enough to only to remove the limitation, you also need to think about how are you going to get people to have the aha moment. You know, they have to have that epiphany, and then, you know, how they, and then they need to adopt the new solution. I hope that helps. Okay, so then the next thing that you want to do is, once you have ideas, one of the best ways to test your idea is to talk to people about it, right? To validate your ideas. But it's very easy to screw it up and fool ourselves. So there's a thing called the mom test. I'm going to show you a short video and just talk to you about a mom test. But, you know, actually the first thing that you want to do before you start wireframing your solution, or, you know, designing anything, or yeah, before you do anything, just talk to a couple of people about your idea, just to validate whether they actually have a problem worth solving, you know. So you might think that this is a limitation or a problem that's really, you know, costing people a lot of money or whatever. Just validate that assumption before you do anything else. And, you know, it doesn't cost you anything to talk to a few people. And the reason why it's called the mom test is it teaches you to test your idea with your mom in a way that she's not going to lie to you. And the reason why your mom lies to you is because she loves you and she doesn't want to hurt your feelings, and you're her special little, you know, baby. So she's not going to tell you it's a dumb idea, right? Your mom's always going to say it's a great idea. So the mom test says, how can you test an idea with even with your mom, so that she can't lie to you? So let's look at the video, and then I'll show you a few slides as well. Oh, I think I must just share my sound. Give me a second here. I don't know why on Teams it's not the default. Okay, let's try again. All right.
We're told, don't ask your mum if your
Oops, sorry.
business idea is a good one. She'll just say yes, because she loves you, of course. The mum test is a set of simple rules for crafting good questions that even your mum can't lie to you about. Let's have 2 conversations and see what we can learn. Mum, I've got a business idea. Can I tell you about it? Of course, dear. You like your iPad, right? Do you use it a lot? Yes. OK. So would you ever buy an app which was like a cookbook for your iPad? And it only costs £20. That's cheaper than your hardbacks on the shelf. Well, and you can share recipes with your friends. And there's an iPhone app which is your shopping list. And videos of that celebrity chef you love. Yes, dear. That sounds amazing. £20 is fine. Will it have pictures of the recipes? Yes, definitely. Thanks, Mum. I'm going to quit my job and put all my savings into my new startup. Won't you have some lasagna? That conversation led us down the garden path. The mum test is about talking to your customers about their life, not your idea. It's about discussing specifics in the past instead of generics or opinions about the future. It's about talking less and listening more. Let's do it again right this time. Hey, Mum, how's the new iPad? Oh, I love it. I use it every day. What do you usually do on it? Oh, you know, read the news, play Sudoku, catch up with my friends. What's the last thing you did on it? Well, Dad and I are off on holiday. I was looking where to stay. Did you use an app for that? No, I just used Google. What app should I use? How did you find out about the other apps you have? The Sunday paper has a section on the apps of the week. Makes sense. By the way, I saw a couple of new cookbooks on the shelf. Where did those come from? Oh, they're one of those things you just end up getting at Christmas. I think Doreen gave me that one. Haven't even opened it. As if I need another lasagna recipe at my age. Time to refine my idea. We discovered many insights in that conversation to help us adjust our idea. It just goes to show, if you can get useful business information from Mum, you can get it from anyone. The Mum Test.
All right. So this guy, Rob Fitzpatrick, he wrote a book, The Mom Test, as well. So if you want to read a book, that is an option. Let me. Why is this not going anywhere? Come on. Goodness. Okay. Yeah, so I know Keshal said you must leave your questions till the end, but if you want to ask a question, a burning question, you are more than welcome. Okay, let me just quit this. Okay, then we continue. Why is this not happening? Okay, so bad data is compliments and fluff, right? So if you're speaking with people to test your idea, you want to deflect compliments and you want to, ignore the fluff. So, most meetings or interviews or whatever end in compliments. People love giving compliments, right? So if you hear things like, sounds great, I love it, wow, that's amazing, that is so clever, just ignore all of that because it's probably a lie. People are just saying that to make you feel better and make themselves feel better. So compliments are not data. And fluff is also not data, right? So generic claims, I usually, we always, I never, I would, I would definitely buy this. Anything generic is probably a lie, right? People can't think into the future, what they're going to do in the future. They can only tell you about what they've done in the past. So any hypothetical future promises or whatever is just fluff and should be ignored. So what you want to do is deflect compliments, anchor the fluff, dig beneath ideas, and Google for trivia. So you don't have to ask them for trivia. You could just Google that, right? So this is the book, The Mom Test, from Rob Fitzpatrick. And the principles is to talk about their life instead of your ideas, ask about specifics in the past instead of generics in the future, and to talk less and listen more. So some good questions, right, is how do you currently deal with this problem, right? How much is this problem costing you currently? Or how much is this process costing you? Or, how are you currently mitigating this risk? How big of a risk is it? Things like that. So you want to learn about their life and the problem to validate your idea, rather validate the problem and to try and validate your solution, if that makes sense. So things like, can you talk me through the last time that happened? When last did you do this or that or whatever? So people lie because they don't want to discourage you and they don't want to see you cry. So, it's better to just ask them about past experiences than to ask them. You don't even have to show them anything, right, to test your idea. You don't have to, in the beginning, you don't even have to have a prototype or anything. And then, try and not pitch, because we get very excited about idea and we think it's such a great idea. So we want to pitch, right? We want to say, yes, but what about, if we do this, we do that or whatever. And you're forcing them into thought world again, right? As soon as you start saying, but what about this? Or, you start leading them or pitching your solution, then, you're going to get hypothetical answers again. All right, so that's the mom test. All right, that's all I'm going to say on ideation. I want to show you this YODA story. Bertha, you asked, how do you collect YODA? Okay, so what we do most of the time is we run a design sprint to kick things off. So this is a book by Jake Knapp. He worked at Google Ventures and they invested in many different startups. And these startups that they invested in came up with new business ideas all the time. And Jake had the fun job of compiling business cases for Google for these ideas, right? These ideas that the startups came up with. And Jake just got really frustrated because it took him months and months and months to try and figure out a business case or a business plan. So he designed this process by taking sort of an agile sprint concept and a design thinking process and combining the two into a design sprint. So it's a 3 to 5 day process to quickly test new ideas by building prototypes. So coming back to the that prototyping phase, it's a mix of methodologies, including business strategy, lean startup, design thinking, marketing, and behavioral science. And it's been refined and tested with thousands and thousands of companies. We ourselves have run, or I personally have facilitated more than 100 design sprints. And I can tell you it works, right? So we always kick off a new project or a new idea first with the mom test, right? Just validating the problem by speaking to potential customers about, the problem and validating that, and then running a design sprint to start collecting our YODA. So typically what our sprint process looks like is we would kick off with a planning session, which is like a 2 to 3 hour planning meeting where we discuss the goal, the sprint questions, the outcome, the people we want to interview, to conduct our mom test. What research do we potentially want to do, and then decide on who's going to participate in the sprint. Then we go away and we do the prep work, which is mostly interviewing people, talking to people, and conducting research. And we compile what is called lightning talks based on the learnings, right? So from the interviews and the research, we capture the learnings in lightning talks, which is just a very short presentations, almost like a TED talk, if you want. So then on day one, we review our goals and questions, and we listen to these lightning talks, and we write down how might we question. So we start framing the problem that we're trying to solve in the form of questions. So we might listen to a lightning talk about, I don't know, consumer behavior. And we might hear that, people prefer blue bubble gum to pink bubble gum. And then, we might write down how might we, use the fact that people like blue bubble gum more to make our product better or something. I don't know. So whatever you hear in the lightning talk, you take notes in terms of how might we notes. Then we ideate in the afternoon and we produce lots of different ideas. So we just come up with lots of different solutions to our how might we questions. Then we storyboard our ideas. So we use PowerPoint or Adobe XD or whatever, just to, wireframe or storyboard our ideas. And this could be, user journeys or marketing collateral or whatever we want to storyboard. On day two, we then pitch our ideas to one another by presenting our storyboards. The rest of the team critique the storyboards, vote for the best ideas, and then we combine it into a master storyboard. On day three, and we use Mural for that. So on Mural, everybody would present their storyboard, and we will vote on Mural for the best ideas. And then on day three, we will build a prototype, and I'm going to show you examples of that. Compile interview guides, and then day 4, test with users. So interview potential users or customers, and capture the learnings. And again, in the testing phase, we use the principles of the mom test. So even those interviews, we start by validating the problem by asking a whole set of questions before we even show them the prototype. And then once you get to the prototype, you shut up, right? You just give them the prototype and you listen for questions. You don't guide them, you don't explain it, you don't anything, right? You just listen for questions, and you can answer the questions they ask. But now, by noting down the questions, you can see what people resonate, what resonates with them, and what questions they have and what you need to refine in your prototype. In many cases, then you can ask for a commitment. So in those interviews, you could ask people, do you want to sign up as a beta user or as a tester, or do you want to put your name on a waiting list? Or, do you want to spend another day with us refining the prototype, or some commitment, right? So you can start testing whether people are willing to commit. And you can even run a bit of a campaign. So I'm going to show you an example of where, instead of interviews, we ran a Facebook campaign to collect YODA and to test with users. So I'm going to show you that example as well. All right, and then the post work is you decide, pivot, persevere. Do we run another iteration? Which of our assumptions have not been validated? And you can iterate on your prototype 100 times to test all your assumptions until you're 100% sure that your business case is bulletproof. And if your business case is bulletproof, then you're not going to waste any money, right? Because now you know exactly what you're aiming for. But let me show you, I'm going to show you some examples. Just, these prototypes could be anything. It could be a mini website, explainer videos, clickable app prototypes. It could be a physical product that you 3D print. It could be social media campaign or human API. So human APIs is basically, with a prototype, you don't want to do integration, right? So many times when we build WhatsApp front ends to test an idea, we would have somebody in the back responding to the WhatsApps like a bot, So it looks like the product is working, or there's a bot, a chat bot in the background, but it's actually a human responding. So that's an example of a human API. And here are some of the platforms that we like, right? So Glide apps, you can build apps, drag and drop. Most of these are what's called low code or no code development platforms. AppGyver is amazing. You can build anything on AppGyver, next to nothing. Real working apps and platforms. Namelicks we use for generating branding ideas or names. If you don't know what to call your startup or your product, go to Namelicks. It's an AI engine that generates names and brands and whatever. Trendgo we use for WhatsApp front ends. So we build a WhatsApp front end. I'll show you an example of that. Airtable is like Excel on steroids. So you can build like a database, right? You don't need any SQL or any skills. You can use Airtable as a backend to your prototype or even your MVP. Wix, mocking up websites strikingly as well for websites. Canva for designing stuff, marketing campaigns, brochures, pitch decks or whatever. Canva is great for that. And then Softer is another platform you can use for developing apps. So these days, you don't have to do wireframes or prototypes, paper prototypes, or mock-ups. You can actually build a working front end in the same time, in the same time as it would take you to sketch out, your screens and what you think the thing should look like. You can build it with one of these no-code platforms as a working front end, right? Back-end integration is another story. But as I said, it's not necessary to have a working system with a back end just to test the idea with users. Okay. So let me show you, I'm going to show you a few examples. The first example is Wow Telecoms. This is a fake brand, obviously, but it's a real customer. So it was a telco startup, and their idea was to roll out wireless broadband in townships. So they realized there's a problem in many of the townships where people don't have decent internet, and they wanted to put towers in, Wi-Fi towers in the townships, and then people can connect to the Wi-Fi towers and get cheaper and better internet. And specifically, they wanted to target the townships around Pretoria, Tshwane. Okay, so what we did is we used Wix. This is a Wix website, and very simple. The branding we got off Namelicks and Canva, and we defined a few options, right? So option 1, this was based on capped data, right? So 10 gig prepaid 99 Rand, 50 gig 199 Rand prepaid and for a month, and unlimited for 399. Option 2, this was more sort of content related. So the first package is the education package, unlimited educational content, browsing and email for 99 Rand per month. The entertainment package is unlimited streaming, browsing and email for 299, and the unlimited all you can eat 399. And option 3 was an ad subsidized option, right? So unlimited internet access for 199, but you have to watch ads every 100 megabytes. There's an ad, and you can pay 99 Rand a month to remove the ads, right? So to get back to the 399. And there will be daily surveys and whatever, right? So that was option 3. And then we had a sign up page. So people could, indicate which option they wanted. And option 1, 2, and 3, leave their details and submit. So then what we did was we ran a Facebook campaign. So this was the call to action: affordable internet for your home, shop now. And then if people click on the shop now button, it takes them to the website and they can browse the different options and then fill out the contact us page, or that sign up page. And this is all for a product that doesn't exist, right? So people actually filled out the sign up page. Let me show you the result. So you can see we've spent 642 Rand and 98 cents on this campaign. So like, nothing. We reached 24,700 people. 884 clicked on the link, or 452 links actually clicked through to the website. And we signed up 384 people. So over a period of 3 weeks, we actually received 5,292 visitors, of which 4,000 was unique visitors to the website. And here are the results. 147 people went for the unlimited. And then option 1, the 10 gigabyte for 99 and 50 gig for 199. Those were the most popular options. So immediately we could drop all the other options, right? So like 85 or 90% of people went for 3 of the 7 options. So just kill the other 4. And then you can run another round of testing, right? So refine the product, add some features, change the wording, and you can actually test with real people before investing any money in this business. So you might say it's a bit sneaky, right? Because people that signed up, they gave us their personal details. So what we did was, when you signed up, there was a page that said, based on our current coverage, we will get back to you. So we first have to confirm your coverage, just to set the expectation that it's not immediate. And then we just decided to phone everyone that signed up. So we phoned all 384 people and we interviewed them. And we told them it's a test. The product's not yet available. And we asked them a whole bunch of questions, and they were very happy to answer those questions. And actually, none of those people were really angry at us for subjecting them to this test. So that's one example of collecting YODA. And you can see how here, you can collect business case information, cost of acquisition, conversion rate. You can start calculating your profitability. If you know what your network cost and whatever is, you can start making calculations, because this also shows you, and this is a function in Facebook, right? In Facebook campaigns, where they show you where the people came from. So the geographic distribution from the responses. And by running these tests, you can decide where to go and put your tower. Maybe your first tower should go here. And actually, we use this to run a pilot then in Pretoria West, because we saw a lot of people from Pretoria West actually engaged with the post. Anyway, so you can get a lot of information, right, from running these type of tests. Here's another one, and I'm seeing we're running out of time, but here's another one. It's a WhatsApp front end that we built. We built an entire bank front end in WhatsApp, and we tested it in the market by interviewing people. So this one, we interviewed people, but you can very easily run a Facebook campaign or whatever on this as well, where people click through to this WhatsApp. It's a live WhatsApp bot. It works, but there's no backend, so there's just some dummy data in the backend. But anyway, so we built out all of these different journeys. You could apply for a loan. We built an explainer video as well. You could top up your wallet, make a payment, request a payment. You can savings, buy airtime, all of these different things. And by looking at where people clicked, how they engaged, the questions they asked, we could start validating all of our assumptions by just mocking up this front end. And it doesn't cost anything, right? This TrendGo thing is basically for free. Here's another example. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with this company, Berna. They sell these non-lethal weapons. Anyone, maybe put your hand up if you've seen adverts or you own one. I see Keshal knows about it. So this is actually my brother's business. He started this business about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I helped him with the go-to-market. I'm also a shareholder in the company, and they've sold 200,000 of these to date. So in the last year, I think they sold more than 100,000 in 1 year by following this process, right? So here we used 3D printers a lot. So the prototypes are all 3D printed, and we tested it with police, security companies, distributors of firearms, and with the general public to validate the assumptions, and then went into production and got funding, right? So he went through a couple of rounds of funding. The first round of funding was 3 million rand to put up a factory in Pretoria East. And they're still producing about 1,000 guns a day in that factory. And the funding, was easy because we had the data. So we had real customer data to say there is a market demand for this. This is what people are willing to pay for it. And here is our YODA that we collected. And then, the funding decision is very simple. And then just the last example of a company that I'm also involved in is Hive Club. I'm a co-founder in this company as well, and we follow the same process. And this is an app, so it's a financial management app for freelancers, helping them with their tax optimization and all of that stuff. It's basically like a cooperative for freelancers or contractors. And Bertha was, I think, one of the people we tested this one with. Hey, Bertha, you were, I think you were one of the interviewees.
Yes, yeah, and I remember. I think I was even at some point helping to build the front end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so Bertha was even helping with the front end on this one. So yeah, we're also now looking for funding for this product based on the YODA that we have collected. So I'm hoping that helps. Maybe let me pause here. I think we've spent almost an hour. Or should I finish quickly, Keshal? There aren't that many slides left. What do you think?
No, sure, go for it. I think we still got time. We can leave it open at the end.
Okay, cool. All right. So basically, getting funding, data speaks louder than words. So you want to get funding for the skateboard, right? So what is the MVV? People want transport, right? The limitation is we need to get from point A to point B. What is the simplest way to get from point A to point B is on a skateboard, right? So you get funding to build skateboards. Then based on user feedbacks, you upgrade it to a scooter, and then you upgrade it to a bicycle, and then to a, electric or a petrol scooter, and then to a car. Instead of, trying to get funding to develop the car from day one. And I think that's sort of the message. And we all know this, right? Seed funding, Series A, Series B, Series C. But validate the MVP, the skateboard, get funding for that, and then the next round will be much easier. But if you're gonna look for funding to build a car, good luck. It's that's super difficult because there aren't many people willing to fork out, you know, 100 million, 200, 300 million. But there are lots of people willing to fork out 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. Lots, many people. Anyway, so there's YODA that you're collecting. Just another thought on that is another way to look at it is this North Star metric. So the North Star metric is what you want to show investors. So investors want to see, are you delivering value to your customers and are you growing? And the best way to show the investors that data is to use this North Star metric model. So the North Star is a single metric that tells you whether you're delivering value to your customers and you're growing. So there are lots of different examples. You can go and research it yourself on Google. And then you want to break down your North Star metric into these input metrics. So the breadth is how many customers, you know, are engaging. The depth is the depth of engagement. The frequency is how often do they engage, and the efficiency is how fast do they succeed. How easy is it to do business with you? So to give you an example here, Spotify's North Star metric is the time spent by subscribers listening to music. And that is the only metric that they report to shareholders and to the board, right? Because if people spend more time listening to music on the app, they know they're delivering value to the customer, because you're not going to listen more if you don't find it valuable, right? And they know they're growing. The business is growing if people spend more time listening to music. And then some of their input metrics is listener growth, you know, the number of trial users, number of premium subscribers, the content engagement, the number of hours per session, and the listening frequency, the sessions per week. But really it all, you know, rolls up into the time spent by subscribers listening to music. So you want to define your North Star metric and then report that to shareholders. Here's another one, Instacart. You know, they just track items received, and you can say within a certain time frame. So you can see the efficiency there's the percentage of items delivered within time. So Instacart is obviously an e-commerce platform. So the breadth here is the number of users placing orders. The depth is the number of items within an order. The frequency, the number of orders completed, and the efficiency, the percentage of items delivered within time. Okay. And then you can also define some drivers. What is driving those input metrics, right? Because then you can design experiments to influence the drivers, and the drivers then will influence the input metrics, and ultimately that will roll up to your North Star metric. But you can go and read up more about North Star metrics. But, you know, in terms of funding, this is the most important thing, is to go to somebody with data and not an idea. Because if you go to a funder with data, with an idea, then you're asking them to do the thinking and to do the validation. But if you come to them with numbers, you know, much easier. All right, so you want to actually keep track of these metrics on an innovation accounting dashboard. So innovation accounting is different to traditional accounting in the sense that you're tracking customer indicators or North Star metric indicators, right? So in the beginning, when you're validating an idea, you want to track things like customer needs, customer pre-sales, customer reactions to MVPs, design sprints, hackathons, and whatever, right? So Tesla is a great example here. You know, they put a prototype on a stage. It's not a working car. It's, you know, it's a prototype. And then they see how many pre-sales they can get. And you have to pay them $1,000 to put your name on the waiting list. And, you know, the Cybertruck now, we've been waiting 3 years, and there are hundreds of thousands of people that have put their name on the waiting list. So now they're iterating on the prototype, and every now and then they release more information on the Cybertruck, you know, the range and the different options. And now they've made it a little bit smaller, and they've added features, and they monitor how the pre-sales are doing. Are people canceling their pre-sales, or they're getting more pre-sales, you know? So Tesla is a great example of a company that follows this sort of lean innovation approach. Anyway, the message is you want to track your customer indicators on an innovation accounting dashboard. So once the MVP is launched, you want to measure your retention rates, your referral rates, your satisfaction, your acquisition rates, your customer experience, and you want to track it on almost a weekly basis, because then, you know, if you go to your funder or to different funders armed with this information, you're making their decision as simple as pie, right? If you can show them, here are my customer metrics, retention rates, acquisition rates, all of that, you know, then and here's my business case based on it, then it's easy to get funding. The lagging indicators obviously come in later, and in the beginning you don't have revenues and profits or whatever to report on, so that makes it really, really difficult to get funding in the beginning if you don't have customer data, right, or customer indicators to motivate a funding decision. All right. Last thing is growth hacking. Actually, I don't think I'm even going to go into growth hacking. This is once the product is launched, how can we grow it exponentially, right? So now we've received funding, we want to scale. How do we actually now scale it? How do we get, you know, to 100,000 users in the shortest possible time? And this is where you want to use growth hacking, which is basically the same process. It is just, you know, product marketing focused. So you analyze the growth levers and your customer indicators. It's also called pirate metrics. And you design experiments to influence these pirate metrics, right? So acquisition, how can we generate more leads? Activation, how do we turn leads into paying customers? Revenue, what is our pricing model? How do we make money? Retention, how do we reduce churn and keep customers loyal? And referrals, how can we get word of mouth going? Yeah, so by analyzing how you are currently doing on these metrics and identifying, you know, yeah, so it can be viewed as a funnel. By identifying where things go wrong, you know where to focus your attention. So you can, you know, here in this example, you can see the activation. There's a problem, right? So obviously, the onboarding or the activation process isn't working, or the conversion isn't there. So there's a problem in conversion. So you want to then design experiments to get your conversion up, your activation. You've got enough leads. You don't have to focus on leads. Here in this example, you need to focus on conversion, right? Or maybe your churn is very high or whatever, right? So yeah, you can go and read about growth hacking, but you know, the process is typically the same, where you're designing experiments and running experiments to influence these. Yeah, growth hacking is a workshop all on its own. You are 100% correct. But I hope I've planted a seed. I'm going to stop here, Keshav.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Floris. I think we'll just open up for questions if anybody has any. Either you can unmute or put your hand up and then we'll unmute you, or you can put it onto the chat.
Okay, Bertha.
Yes, hi. So I've got a question. You said you've worked with up to like 1,000 startups. You know, I'm imagining you and Rapelang don't come cheap. You know, are you like an affordable sort of like consultant for such, you know, if a startup wanted to consult on growth hacking ideas, or, you know, collecting all data, YODA, like I think that Facebook campaign was quite, you know, like a genius. So if somebody wanted your services, is it in the range that startups can afford?
No, to be honest with you, no, it's not. So that's why we focus on corporates, because corporates got money to pay us. So for startups, I just give my IP away for free, like on this call. So we try and, you know, help startups. We work with accelerators. So we've worked with the Orange Corner accelerator. We're working with the JSE accelerator, the Standard Bank accelerator. So we give away our time, you know, coaching and sharing our IP. You know, in some cases, like with Hive Club, they really wanted us to help them. So then we said, okay, cool, we'll help you, but then we'll take an equity stake. So in some cases, we really believe it's a great idea. you know, we could have an equity discussion to say, let's do it together as partners, and then we develop it together. So we've done that, but yeah, it's obviously not feasible. My problem at the moment is I just don't have time for anything else. I'm involved in another startup now, where I'm doing the same thing, right? I've taken an equity stake in building the startup, and now I just don't have any bandwidth. So that's our biggest challenge now. There's too many opportunities in too little time. So yeah, that is unfortunately the challenge.
Okay, Floris, we got another question from Nita. How does one determine initial capital investment to start up? Does one need to already consider full development costs at the outset or determine as you go?
I think you want to determine it as you go. So remember, you know, you want to first prototype, right? And the prototype will give you, and the prototyping is free, basically. You know, using those no-code platforms, you can build front ends basically for free. Then when you move on to MVP development, you know, you keep it as simple and cheap as possible, and you iterate with early adopters. And then only once you are 100% sure that this thing is scalable and there's a scalable model, do you then scale. And at that point, you will have a pretty good understanding of exactly what this thing would look like, or should look like. And then you can get quotes from the likes of a Bertha or, you know, dev shops. And then you can approach funders at that point in time. But you know, it's actually great if you can find somebody that walks the journey with you. You know, that gives you a little bit of money to run even the prototypes, and then give you a little bit more money to build the MVP, and then, you know, give you a little bit more money to then scale it out. So it's good if you can identify someone in the early days to work with you. I hope that helps. I mean, there's no one size fit all. But all I'm saying is don't make the mistake of putting 100,000 Rand of your hard-earned cash into an idea before you have validated your assumptions. Please, I think that's the message, is before you spend any money, just collect the YODA and plug the YODA into the business case instead of thumb sucking it. Yeah, and Bertha is great with MVP development. She's developed quite a few for us, so you can definitely use Bertha. Nita?
Thank you so much, and a very good evening, Floris. I really appreciate it, because I think I was very ready to already throw in some cash, you know, and it really helps to actually get that level of experienced insight to, you know, to rather understand the journey, because, you know, someone such as myself who's never, you know, been an entrepreneur, and now you want to start off that journey. So it's very easy to just throw money at something, but you obviously want to validate it, like you mentioned. So I really appreciate that. That's been really insightful. I appreciate, and the process as well. I'm a real fan of design thinking and agile, and it's great to see the two come together. So that's quite exciting for me too. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, guys, I've put my email in the chat. So if you wanna reach out, you know, send me an email. Keshal, you're welcome to share my cell phone number as well. Let me put it in the chat again.
Sure.
So happy to chat, happy to give advice. And if you think you've got a great business idea, you know, happy to listen. Bertha, is that an old hand or is that a fresh hand? There we go. Any other questions? Everybody's very quiet.
Yeah, everyone is. I think they're just soaking in all the knowledge there you've given, Floris.
Okay, cool, Palesa. I'll look for your email. No other questions? Nobody that wants to challenge anything I've said. I love it when people challenge me. At Wits, I give extra marks if people challenge me. If people say, no, you're talking shit, then they get extra marks. Nothing. Okay, cool. Maybe everybody's hungry. They want to go eat, Keshaw.
Yeah, I think so. We'll let them off. Okay, cool. Thank you
Cool.
very much, Floris. I really appreciate your time and really appreciate you doing the session. Just, I forgot to mention, there's three other members of the committee online as well. Bertha, Toela, and Tumi, if you don't mind putting your cameras on just so that everyone can see you. For those who haven't met you, Bertha is our chair lady. Toela is responsible for established businesses, and Tumi is our treasurer. See, they're hiding. All right, cool. But yeah, any questions, also reach out to us at, I put our email address here. It's abc@mygibs.co.za.
Bertha saying her camera's broken. There's Tumi. Hi,
Sure.
Tumi.
There we go, Tumi.
You
You're
see
on
what I was
mute.
hiding?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, cool. Thank you,
Okay,
everyone. And
cool.
thanks, everyone who attended.
All right.
Cool. Catch you
Cheers.
on the next one.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Lee.